right. Thank you so much. And thank you for dropping in. Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop In CEO. And as always, I am grateful that you have arrived today at what is going to be an absolutely amazing show. Week after week, I have these fantastic guests who share their insights for those C-suite leaders because we do this work, we share this work because we want to help you thrive and navigate your challenges with confidence. And today it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Paul Visokey, who is has so much practical knowledge okay, I'm going to restart. Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop In CEO, and I want to thank you again for dropping in on the show because week after week, I have these amazing guests who share their insights with you and hopefully inspire you. And if you like this episode, I know you will. Please subscribe, download, tell others, because this is just an amazing resource for C-suite leaders who are navigating challenges. And I want them to have all the confidence in the world. And this week, I am pleased to share the mic with Paul Visokey, who is the president and founder of Stony Hill Advisors. He combines his practical knowledge of selling solutions with a thorough technical understanding of the products and services he has sold. He takes advantage of his technical background as well as his experience in sales and marketing and helps put to light the best value for those leaders and organizations that he's working with. So, as the CEO of Mergers and Acquisitions Advisory Business, Paul and his team can provide expert valuations, M&A advisory services, and exit planning advice to small businesses. And with that, it is my pleasure to welcome you onto the show.
Thank you, Deb. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with your audience and have a conversation with you.
And I am as well. I am so thrilled about this space. I have had the opportunity when I have been in corporate and then working with smaller businesses, the energy and the culture of these smaller entities is second to none. And the ability for leaders and business owners in these organizations to realize there might be something that they need to start planning for in the future, for which Paul's expertise is going to be incredibly valuable. So, again, thank you for joining. And I would give you the floor to share a bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Well, thank you again. So I started Stony Hill Advisors in 2010, and I started it with one out of necessity because I was in the commercial mortgage business, and we closed down in 2009. And I was looking for something my last stage of my career, and I came across and with the idea that I could help small business owners sell their companies in order for them to retire by essentially accessing the wealth they've created. Most of our clients have 90+% of their wealth in their business, and it's not accessible to them until they sell, and they can't retire unless they sell. So I realized that this is a mission to help them achieve their final goals in life and to keep the business alive, because when they sell to a new owner, the employees continue on, the customers continue on, the suppliers continue on, and the business thrives into the future, versus the opposite is to shut it down.
And so that's so sad they shut it down. I mean, what then happens if you could just paint a picture for those people who you have seen not take advantage of succession planning and planning for the future? What is the fallout from not engaging with you?
Well, obviously, as I just said, the employees are left to their own devices. Who knows if they ever find other employment? They
Mm,
may have something to retire on, but again, if you think about small businesses, they don't generally have retirement plans and other resources for the employees. That's a failure of that part of our economy, and so these people are struggling on Social Security or whatever else they put aside, and it's their living standards will have to be adjusted. That's one. The other part is they have a mission and then they have nothing. So the employees are left with, well, what am I going to do now? They're not all retirement age either. So they might find another job, but it's not be the same job. They might have been enjoying what they were doing, and now they got to find whatever they can. The economy was affected, by the way, with the pandemic. So a lot of people could not find another job from, and maybe they are now, but for 3 or 4 years, there was no hope for them to get employment. So that's the one opportunity I've had to feel good about what I do, is helping the economy continue on. And the other thing that I learned in investigating this opportunity, there are many trillions of dollars of wealth captured in this part of our economy. It is the mainstay of the economy of the US. It's not corporate America, it's small business America that runs this country and keeps it alive.
And so that is why ultimately I brought you on to the show, because it sings to my heart. Because I too, as well, while I have had the good fortune of and the resources working in a large corporation, when I had the opportunity to work with some of the smaller acquisitions, those smaller companies had amazing cultures, amazing skills, and we brought them onto the mothership, and had to go through those kinds of things where they did sell them off to somebody to perpetuate it, but you're right. These small and medium-sized companies, I care so much about them. And it's to your point, I love what you say. The bigger mission here is to help sustain and even grow the US economy. People put their hearts and souls into these small companies, and even when the owner wants to step away, it's all those people, and it's more than just them getting potentially financial reward from their hard work, but it's about leaving a legacy with the people, because even those people will tell their children, I remember when I was working in this company, it was like a family. We did things, we bought presents for each other, and even when they couldn't make payroll, we were there. These stories are yet to be told, and if they shut down, they really cannot leave that legacy in the minds and hearts and pockets of the future generation. So I love the space that you're in. So
Thank you.
if there's somebody out there, because my people that are listening, I have interviewed so many presidents, founders, CEOs of companies, and some of these C-suite leaders that are going to eventually either be the CEOs of some of these small companies, or maybe they spin off themselves. I'd love for you to maybe paint a picture of who your ideal client is, where they're at in the spectrum, their mindset, maybe even the industries that you focus on. So if somebody is out there listening, I want you and them to connect because they're your target. So tell me a little bit about your ideal customer.
Our focus is on what is called lower middle market, and it's defined by the size of the business. Basically, it's a business bigger than Main Street, which is someone who provides service to a walk-in customer kind of thing, and it's smaller than corporate America, as I mentioned, where there are multinational companies building things, and whether it's a Boeing or a bank, big bank, whatever. This middle market, this lower middle market is, I define it as between 5 million and 50 million in revenue, or between 20 and 250 employees. That's the majority of the US economy. And the heart of that is with the purpose of growing it, because most of those companies, even if they have family members in the business, the family members either don't want to take over or not quite capable of taking over. So there needs to be some way of finding an outside buyer, and then that's what we do. We facilitate that process. We identify the outside buyers. We manage to get the offers in hand. We negotiate the purchase agreements and continue through the acquisition to make it a smooth transition to the new owner.
So it sounds so easy, but I'm sure that there is a little bit more in depth in the process. So let's just say somebody does show up. How long are those engagements? How long does it take for them to get from the place of, I do think I need to start setting this up, to, the end game and realizing their wealth and leaving a legacy? So what does that look like?
My question, because too often business owners don't prepare for their exit. When they decide to try to find a buyer for their company, it's not always in condition where they're going to get the best offer. There's usually issues that are risk factors for the next owner, and they're easily identifiable Many times the current owner doesn't want to address them because I'm going to sell in a couple of years. I'm not going to fix that machine. I'm going to let the next guy buy it, or I'm not going to hire new people because I have to train them and they're not going to be productive for a while. I'll just keep the people I have and we'll just continue on that basis. And what they fail to do is realize that if they're not growing their business and in fixing the issues, the value of the business is going to be discounted. The offers are not going to be what they hoped and wished. And that's where we have the biggest struggle is the business owners think their business is worth more than it really is to a potential buyer. Now, what we try to do is help them, and we ask for 1,000 days before you want to exit. And that roughly a 3-year period of time, we can work on the issues that we have experienced knowing, identifying, and help the business owner address these things so that they're not just letting them sit. And then if we help them make the changes and make the business more ready, then they're going to get a better offer, and they're very thankful for that. But you need time, and those things you can't drop all the daily activity of the business in order to work on them. So you have to do it step by step over a couple of years.
Yeah, so you need to find somebody that is of the right mindset, that's in this for the long game, that has the same values of you, that he's in it to make sure we take care of the people and we take care of the economy. So again, if you're out there, if you're a human-centric leader and you're thinking about selling, again, you might want to connect with Paul, but let's just go into a little bit deeper. I'm sure there's a little bit more to it as you assess their needs. What are some of the most common areas where they do need to shore things up and evolve or fix?
Interesting that question is the most difficult one for the business owner to accept,
Hmm.
which is make the business independent of you. And that is hard to do because they're so used to running everything. They make
Hmm.
all the decisions. They make whether it's a hiring decision, a purchasing decision, um, a, 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 a new customer decision. Everything goes through that owner. And unless they have trained their replacement, the business can't move on without them. And that puts them into a corner. They can't sell because they can't leave because the business can't live without them. So one of the things we do in that 1,000 days is we try to help the owner understand they have to be able to assign authorities to other people, train those other people, and make their lives easier. Actually, the ultimate net that comes from the fact that the business owner's life becomes easier when they have treated it as a business that doesn't need them anymore. And one of the quips I have is, you'll know you're ready to sell when you go away for a month and nobody didn't know you weren't there. So that's what you have to strive for, and that's hard to do because they are so used to. They think, I built this business. I can do it better than anyone. Why would I sign someone to do what I'm doing and pay them for it? I could keep the money myself. But it's going to cost you in the value of the business. So whatever money you save by not hiring someone in the last 1,000 days is coming out of the price of what you get in the end. So it's a fool's game to try to think you don't need to replace yourself.
It's a little bit of that scarcity and that abundance mindset. I'm sure they've been watching the purse strings for so many years, and they've been saying, it's easier if I do it myself versus maybe hiring a newbie and training all that training to operate that equipment when I can just walk over and troubleshoot that thing and it starts cranking again. So there's a little bit of pride. It
Exactly.
sounds like there's so much, you do a lot of transactional and advisory work, but how much it is therapy for the leader? How much time do you spend kind of talking them through? You got to relinquish. I'm just curious about what that looks like.
It is the hardest thing about our job.
Yeah.
And that's what we think is critical to what we do at Stony Hill Advisors too. We try to make that the focus of our initial connection with a business owner. We're not about, oh, do you want to sell your business? Call me when you do. We're about, let's help you get ready. And then you'll call me when you're ready. Because if we're helping you get ready, the process is so much smoother in the end when you finally decide, okay, now it's time to go find out if there's someone willing to pay, what I want for the company. So it is our focus. It is our a special niche is the transition training, coaching to get the business owner ready to eventually sell it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about what you do. And it's very similar to my brand. I spend a lot of time in my work trying to reach out to people that potentially could use my services and educate and whisper in their ear. Even if we're not talking, I'm putting out content let's talk before you're in a crisis. Don't you be that same person that lives
Exactly.
Groundhog Day over and over again. We want to help you. We want to be there. We want to just talk to you and get you ready for when you say, okay, I trust and I'm ready to pull
Exactly.
the trigger. So again, those listening out there, don't wait too long. Paul and I are here to serve you. So let's just put this in context because some people may not necessarily be aware of the M&A activities. Maybe they're going to go into a company that's going to be merged or acquired. Tell us, give an example of a client or two that you've actually worked through. Like, where were they at the beginning? Maybe they were a naysayer, what have you, and what does success look like at the end? Just an example.
Um, there's so many. I've been doing this for 14 years. I think of the appropriate one. I had this one business owner who had a small a real estate appraisal firm in New York, and he had a right hand. He had a person who he thought was going to take over, but he didn't trust them that he was ready, and we kept trying to coach both the owner and that second in command to a point where he could turn it over to him and let him buy him out. Well, in the end, he decided he'd go to the market. And the interesting part of the process was I found a buyer in the industry who wanted to keep that second in command, that other person, on board. And he bought the business and kept the second in command so that there was a transition. So it kind of is the merger of preparing your replacement, but also finding someone to buy your company in the meantime so that it would continue without you. The owner was very appreciative. I was able to manage that process from beginning to end, where the employee didn't leave. He felt he was still wanted, even though the owner wasn't willing to sell to him because he didn't think he was going to be capable of running it.
So that's important because capable and trust. What was the source of that? Did they kind of rub like not the same persona? Did something happen in the past that impacted decisions going forward? Or they just weren't going to run it the way I wanted to? I'm just curious about because trust is actually an important thing in owners being able to relinquish their legacy.
Some of that behind the scenes, I don't know the whole story. I know this person was not there a long time. The second in command was brought in for the purpose of being there when the owner left, and I don't think he didn't live up to his standards. And a lot of business owners are that way. They have certain expectations, and they don't anyone in the organization they don't think can do what they do. They can't trust someone to carry the ball for them. So that's why they turn to a third party. And in this case, the third party buyer liked this individual enough that he thought, well, that's a transition point. If he doesn't work out, I can replace him. I can, but I'm going to give him a chance. So that was the easier way to do this. Owner leaving, employee staying, acquiring company comes in and tries to make this business go on.
I love the way that you don't have like a cookie cutter approach. I've seen and heard so many larger consulting entities for which many people know who they are, who they just come in with their team of people and they've got their assessment, they've got their templates, and then they say, here's the plan, go forth and execute. And I don't get a sense that there's a human part to what they do, that, there's so much more, like you say, coaching and getting people through the process and accept certain things that they want that wealth, they want to sell off the business and to trust people. So I really appreciate what Stony Hill does to kind of build a relationship first and then let's go through a customized approach. Yeah, there's an approach, but let's customize it to make people feel okay with that process. So tell me,
But
no,
that's
go, yeah, yeah,
critical in the
go ahead.
small business market. I say the small business market is critical because these companies they are small communities of people who work closely together and they know each other very well. They know their families, as you said earlier, and so we have to understand what makes them tick and how is the business going to continue on and what are the key players, and it's part of our, again, that goes back to the 1,000 days to coach them. It takes us time to get to know that business well enough to be able to formulate the best solutions for them to exit. You can't just, it's not you throw it on the market and you have someone come in and buy it, and then you hear later about the buyer and the employees don't get along, the business fails, the employees are all leaving, et cetera. You need time to get it ready. It's not just turn it over to somebody.
As I think in parallel with me formulating the next question and you sharing, your insights, but as I'm thinking through this, there's something around this 1,000-day concept. And I know it's give or take depending on the scenario, but it's not just the tactical work. It's helping them mentally through the process. I think in general for our listeners, regardless of whether in M&A activities or what have you, if you think in terms of vendors, if you think in terms of customers, if you think about the relationships or helping business processes go through a transformation. There's the courting stage, and then the okay, let's take you for a test drive stage, and then you have to deliver stage, and then over time things don't go as expected. I would say naturally any relationship is worth investing 600, 1,000 days into to create something that's going to leave a legacy. So while Paul and I are talking about M&A and leaders and their succession planning, I think people should also think about those relationships that they have in their lives are worth investing time, because the ones that are going to make a lasting impact may take 2 to 3 years to get a sustainable result. So I really love that. But let's talk about your business a little bit because I want people to learn about it's not just Paul. Tell us a little bit more about how you structured your entity such that you can support anybody that might say, I might need some help.
Well, it's a good question because there is a strategy. Um, I have 8 people working in on my team, and they're in 8 different cities, including my own. And the reason for that was to do the 1,000-day coaching. You need time in place. You can't just parachute in by airplane over a 3-year time period. You're going to spend a lot of time and money on flying into the city to meet with the people. So if you're in that same neighborhood, you can drive to their meeting, and many times you won't even meet on their premises. You'll meet outside because the process is away from the business. The business owner wants the confidentiality of not everyone knowing, and they also want the freedom of being able to think without having the pressure of what someone coming into my office or whatever. So being local to that business entity, it allows us to treat them as a process, a step by step work over time. There's no hurry. When you're ready, you're ready. And so that's part of our strategy. And so we have 8 people, and I'm still growing. We're adding as appropriate around the country. I'm looking for someone in Atlanta. I'm looking for someone in Florida, et cetera. So it's we're going to grow this into a national program because it is so important to the economy to keep these businesses alive.
And what's your relationship with chambers, chambers of commerce? Are those entities a sweet spot, too small, not right? I'm just curious, how might you fit into that forum or that group of business owners?
Interesting. We've explored that avenue, and it hasn't proven to be helpful for what I believe to be 2 reasons. One, most of the members of a chamber are very, very small businesses. Ours are generally a little bigger than that. And secondly, the owner of the business doesn't go to the chamber meetings. He sends his VP of sales or his general manager. He doesn't bother to get into that networking group. He's networking at the country club or some other organization that is his standard, not working in the chamber with other. He views it as an employee responsibility, not the owner. Now, that's a very generalized statement, but I haven't found much success, and that's how I'm attributing it to that dynamic.
So, what then is a formula for you connecting with your ideal client? How have you been able for them to find you or you to find them?
Well, we do a lot of marketing, but more importantly, we depend on the trusted advisor community. Almost every business owner has an attorney that they work with because they have to write contracts. They have to write to establish the business entity in the first place. They have a government-defined LLC or a C corp to establish the business in the first place. They also have financial advisors that they're still investing some of their earnings and wealth in stocks. So they have a preferred financial advisor. They also oftentimes have an accounting firm that gives them advice. They also have insurance people that provide the business with insurance and both personal life insurance and business casualty insurance. So all of these people get to know the business owner on a personal level and establish a trusted advisor role. And we look for them to tell us this business owner is contemplating selling. So when they realize that and they know to contact us, we can start working with the business owner. And we, again, the 1,000-day comes to play. We need them to give us advance notice. We don't want them to say, oh, he's putting the business on the market tomorrow, because that doesn't help, because it's then you're scrambling to try to get, make most of it. It's not, you have no time to fix anything wrong.
Well, I'm sure there are
So
some acute situations where that happens. Somebody passes, somebody gets ill, or what have you. But when faced with that, is that then not your ideal client? Or what then does that work look like if we're talking like 90 days?
yeah, well, I mean, you make the most of it.
Okay.
There are occasions where you have to. I've had a wife call me to tell me her husband passed away, and he was the owner of the business, and she doesn't have anyone. The second in command doesn't have the wherewithal to buy the business,
Mhm.
and they want to sell it. So yeah, we'll put it on the market, and then we'll make the most of it. We'll there was always ways to address the issues, but again, you need time. I oftentimes use selling a house as an example. If you know you're going to sell your house, you start working on improvements. You work on make sure your roof is not leaking, your air conditioning is working. A lot of times you'll upgrade your kitchen and your bathrooms. If you don't, then you're going to sell it for what anyone will pay for it, and they'll come in and they're subtracting from the price what they're going to invest in the house to repair the things and upgrade it. So it's a matter of if you're gonna take it on the price, or you're gonna take the time to get it ready.
I really love this, and it's interesting, sir, for our listeners or those who are viewing this on later on the YouTube. You see me taking notes. I've got a whole bunch of people that I'm like, these might be good introduce. You talk about marketing, showing up on a podcast, getting to know somebody. No, you never know who I know that might be
Right.
potentially a great referral partner. So when we're done here, I've got some names for you. I really enjoy this. I'm grateful that I know you because again, I do as I drop into small and medium sized companies. I can see in my future somebody says, "Deb, do you know somebody? It's quiet right now. I'm thinking about X." I said, "Okay, I know Paul." So that's the beauty of these
So
things. But what I want to do is bring this to a close now and give you the floor one last time to share any last thoughts for people to think about, ways to get a hold of you. And the floor is yours.
thank you. Well, first I'll give you my email address. It's my first name, Paul, at Stony Hill Advisors. And Stony is Stony, no E in that. My phone number is 267-535-2551. Our website obviously is www.stonyhilladvisors.com. We try to promote lots of information. We have it, we use we you just touched on it. I just want to repeat.
Mhm.
We can't, there's so many businesses in the country. We can't help everybody. So we need to reach out to them and be ready when they're ready. So we try to make sure that we're communicating our message and let them know how to reach us, and then we can begin to work with them. So it's a very much a shotgun approach, if you will, to reach as many people as possible, to find the few that want to, that are ready to make the decision that this is the right time to think about it, retiring, selling my company, and moving on. And the other last thing I'll say, in our coaching, we help the business owner personally get ready. It's one thing about making the business ready, but if you're now retiring and you've been working for 30, 40 years, what are you going to be doing next week when you sell? So we help business owners think about what they're going to be doing. And again, back to the 1,000 days, it may take time for someone to establish consulting, volunteering, anything that makes you feel comfortable, where your lifestyle is kept alive by the selling of the business, but your enjoyment and your commitment to helping others continues on. And it can be just committing to the family and traveling to meet, or if kids are gone in different parts of the country, do the routine of meeting them and going to vacations and so on. So you have to think about, what are you going to be doing after you sell? And we help them, work out a model for that.
Oh, I love how you deal with the whole person. It's not ultimately the transaction and leaving your legacy, but you leave the owner whole. Paul, you've been an amazing, amazing guest. And I just want to say thank you for all these great insights. Anybody listening out there, please connect with Paul, start a conversation now, start your 1,000 days, maybe even sooner than later. And I just want to wish you well and much success. And thank you for being a great guest.
Thank you for this opportunity.